Hello everyone, welcome back to Luke's Movie Talk, where I go over some of the most recent movies I've been watching. For this video, I'll be looking at the new FullMetal Alchemist, the final Alchemy movie. So just before I get into that, I uploaded a video for the new Netflix anime, Drifting Home, and also the most recent Mobile Suit Gundam, Kukuru Doan's Island. So if you're interested, go give them a watch. And make sure to like and subscribe to keep up to date with all future uploads. Okay, so let's get into the plot of the third FullMetal Alchemist movie. While on a journey, Hohenheim meets Izumi and Sig Curtis and tells them about the promised day. So Izumi is the teacher of Ed and Al, and basically she went through the same process of she learnt the truth when trying to bring back her child. So she understands that the promised day, and she understands that she's probably going to end up getting involved as well at some point. Gluttony takes Al to see father through the sewers. Ed and Ling fight envy, but Ed figures out a way out. So he sees some of the human transmutation circles on a big stone that's inside Gluttony, so he finds a new way that they can actually escape. Roy is brought to Bradley after confirming he's a homunculus by talking to the other generals. So basically he went to find out if anyone else was corrupt, and actually found out everyone is corrupt, and they all know Bradley's a homunculus and on his side. Ed, Ling and Envy escape through the transmutation circle, and Ed sees Al's body on the way out, and they all escape from Gluttony. All of the group now together face Father, but are stopped and held down. Father puts a new greed inside of Ling. Scar arrives and they all escape. Scar shows Ed and Al his brother's notes, and they figure out Father's plan to use a countrywide transmutation circle. Ed goes to meet Olivia Armstrong, who is in command of the North, where the final sacrifice will be. With the notes, Scar and May figure out the reverse circle. The homunculus Sloth appears in the North base, and Armstrong's unit defeat him, for now. A general arrives and relieves Armstrong of her command, and releases Sloth. So basically Sloth is digging tunnels to make the nationwide transmutation circle, and he's basically just been going around the whole country, digging underground tunnels. Ed tells her everything about Father, homunculi, and everything. So basically now Armstrong is completely in on the plan. She understands everything. Al meets with Hohenheim, and he tells Al about himself and the dwarf and the flask and how they came to be. So we get the full backstory of Hohenheim and how originally he was a slave, and he basically made a deal with this dwarf in the flask who's a little black ball with a smile and an eye, and he tricked Hohenheim and he killed off a whole nation and made them both immortal, and that's how they're still around. Ed and Ling face off against Pride, and Hohenheim traps Pride with Al's help. Mustang starts a coup with the help of his friends and Armstrong's men. The Armstrong siblings fight off against Sloth. Gluttony frees Pride, and after fighting homunculus corpses and Envy kills itself. So basically Roy Mustang comes in and starts throwing fire and absolutely destroys Envy. And then Envy's real form, which is like a little green slug, comes out and just basically offs itself because it's just sad. It's a really weird little creature. It's like a little leech or something. Hohenheim faces Father but loses. He tries to face off against him by releasing all the souls, and it seems to work, but then Father just seems to release his true form, and it's a big black outline figure with loads of eyes and everything, and it takes control of Hohenheim. The Brig soldiers and Ling fight with Wrath, and after Fu sacrifices himself, Wrath falls off the tower. Father uses Ed, Al, Roy, Hohenheim and Izumi as sacrifices and consumes everyone in the country and brings God to him through a portal. Father now has a new body, but God is hard to contain, so he ends up releasing all of the souls back to the country. Scar kills Wrath and then activates the reverse transmutation circle. It's basically like a reverse pentagram. So the original one that was in the country was a huge one, whereas this one is like a small one inside of a circle to signify the reversing, because it's complete opposites. Ed defeats Pride and everyone faces off against Father. After a power beam, everyone is hurt, and Al sacrifices himself to give Ed back his arm to fight back. With the combo of greed sacrifice and Ed, they defeat Father. Ed then sacrifices his ability to use alchemy to bring Al back, body and all. Scar is put to task to rebuild Ishval. Mustang will be the new leader, and Hohenheim dies by his grave. Ed and Al return to Winry, and Ed somewhat confesses his feelings before going on his next journey. So we get a nice little wrap up on the whole story, and they win over in the end, and it's a nice complete bow where the brothers are back together and now they're enjoying their lives. So I enjoyed this film for the most part. I love the characters as a whole, obviously, because from the anime, that's where I'm originally watching it from. I love all the characters, their relationships. I love the evilness of Father and just the teamwork that all of our characters put together to finally defeat him. I think Hohenheim the most. I think he was the most in-depth character we got to look at, especially with his backstory. You felt really connected to him and how he was used by the dwarf and the flask. And Hohenheim basically has been around for all these years just trying to find a way to right these wrongs and help the people that are trapped inside him as the Philosopher's Stone. Olivia Armstrong was a cool addition as well, so she came in for this film, and I think she was a cool, like, hard-fisted person who doesn't take any crap and always wants to get the job done, and she took no prisoners. She got what she wanted and made it her way. As I said, I love Hohenheim and Dwarf story. Like, it was really sad how Hohenheim got used and the dwarf basically killed everyone, and there's a shot where it pans up and you see the whole kingdom and there's bodies everywhere and everyone's dead and Hohenheim could do nothing. The fight with King and Wrath was cool. They had a nice little sword fight, and it ended with the Briggs fighters finishing off Wrath until Scar did the final blow. Even with its packed plot, it ended really well. I think they tied it up really nicely and ended it on a good note with Winry and Ed saying goodbye until next time. But a couple of the downsides were the CG was iffy most of the time, but Al was the exception for that. So when we saw Envy in the big lizard form, that looked odd. There was a couple of scenes with the alchemy. It looked really weird and low budget, and I wasn't really a fan of it. Added on to that, the green screen wasn't great, especially in the inside Gluttony when they were running through the blood and the background. It looked terrible. They looked like they were on a green screen, and I just couldn't concentrate because they looked so out of place. I was just like, oh god, this looks terrible. But that was the main scene that really caught my attention. So much was packed into the 2 hours. I think this is just a fact of it's a compilation of the anime and the manga where they have multiple chapters or episodes, whereas this is literally just 2 hours to compact like tens of episodes in it. You feel it sometimes. As a result of that, a lot of characters get a lot less screen time, and you don't feel their stories are as fleshed out, and it kind of just sticks with Ed and Al, and everyone else is kind of a backseat to that, which is kind of a bummer because a lot of the side characters are really cool and they're interesting. But yeah, overall, I had a fun time with this live action, I guess, remake of the series. And if you like FullMetal Alchemist, you'll enjoy this to some extent. You will be bummed out, obviously, because they skip a lot of stuff and cram all this into 2 hours, which is a bummer, but overall, it's a fun, exciting time. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this installment in the FullMetal Alchemist live action series. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to keep up to date with all future episodes. And until next time, I will see you all later.